Let's get back on topic of NASCAR. I will say the one thing I like the most about this whole situation. I know that there's been some news that's come out about this supposed news and whatnot, but I will say that when the night that it did happen, that it did go down, where this was suspected to be a potential hate crime, I got to say that the way NASCAR handled it was flawless.
Oh yeah, man.
The way they responded, the way they got in front of it. I
I
forget the
love
individual's
that
name,
they
but the way he tuned in on Sports Center with Scott Van Pelt, like, was
yeah.
just, I mean, like, he came at it with the most passion and like he was ready to go in there, like, roll up his sleeves
Yeah.
and be like, let's look for this dude. Like, this is not okay.
Yes.
You know, and like, I feel like he really personified how NASCAR really felt about this situation, and they've held their ground about this investigation since that, you know. But obviously, you know, this story has evolved. You know, go ahead.
Yeah. No, I was just gonna agree with you that the fact that they took it personally was awesome.
Yeah.
And it's because they were vocal about it, especially the couple. I can't think of his name right now. He was the dude that was talking to Scott Van Pelt. That's like the lead ESPN reporter. You know? Did you say his name?
No, I mean, that just shows you how big of NASCAR fans we are.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, but
if it was NBA, we would have said Adrian Wojnarowski. If it's NFL, we would have said Adam Schefter. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's like, this is what it is.
But the dude is actually really cool, and it's getting me back into NASCAR a little bit. But like, you could see when he spoke, he didn't speak professionally. He didn't speak PC. He spoke from the heart. He swore a couple times that they had to bleep it out. Like, it wasn't your typical, like, oh, this is ESPN now reporting, blah blah blah. This was a guy that was like, and he said it perfectly in the sense where he was just like, they are trying, the reporters are trying, NASCAR is trying to get as far away from that stereotype of, you know, yeehaw NASCAR. Yeah. They don't want to be recognized as that. They want to be a sport that accepts any and everyone. And their biggest fear from this whole Noose thing was that they're going to fall back 10 years on what they've done and accomplished in bringing the sport to more ethnicities and just people as a whole. And it was cool to see, because the fact that not just the reporting side of it, but the leadership, or, you know, the brass side of NASCAR across the board, they weren't upset. They were pissed off. Now, of course, today or yesterday, whenever it was that it came out that looks like there was some miscommunication, and it wasn't a noose, it was a garage door pull that basically the end. There's a picture that's going around. We're pretty sure it's accurate, but
well, it's more of a misinterpretation.
Yeah, basically it's a garage door pull that at the end someone had just turned it into a loop, probably to make it easier to grab onto.
Yeah, I think their intent was to create a handle.
Yes, exactly.
You know, something nice to, like, pull on. I mean, and the noose, I mean, as negative as it is, it's a very effective knot.
Yeah.
You know, and
it is.
You know, now my only thing, and my experience managing facilities, is just that, like, okay, this is, think about like a sports stadium or a venue, right? Like there's a staff that manages this place on a daily basis. There's a staff that cleans, maintains, does everything. Now, the simplest thing of the garage door, the mechanism in which this thing opens and closes. You don't think that we're gonna have a chain to roll this thing up with, or whatever? Yeah. Maybe the thing's automatic, or there's a handle, or this or that. Whatever the mechanism was, it's been in place longer than this.
Yes.
And so the thing is like, even if it were these rope / noose / handles of whatever kind, that you think that after all this Black Lives Matter stuff started several weeks ago, death of George Floyd and even anything that happened in the past with prior deaths.
Mm-hmm.
That nobody in NASCAR would have thought, or who manages the Talladega Motor Speedway would have thought, maybe we should rethink this, and maybe we should get a different, chain or cord or whatever the hell we can put here to operate these doors just the way we need to, but no one's gonna confuse this as something that it's not, because it kind of looks, sketchy.
Yeah, I agree with that to an extent, but at the same time, if the picture that you provided me is accurate, I mean, it's so small and minuscule that it could be something that you just don't think of in that. Like I after you showed me that picture, I was on my run, and I was thinking for a little bit, like, is there anything in my house that could possibly like look like something that has no intention of looking at? Like, you might not even see it at that, so it doesn't look like that. Where to someone else, it does look like that very much. And in the picture, even like it that you sent me, it does look very blatantly like a noose, but it's so disproportionate that it doesn't. It very much looks like a handle.
It seems like a very small diameter rope.
Yes.
And even the circle that makes up the noose at the bottom maybe is like 3 inches in diameter.
Yeah, and that's the thing.
Like there's been reports in many different places, I know for a fact around the Bay Area in California, of nooses being hung like in public places.
Yes.
And those have been legit nooses, like big ones. Like,
but those are also from the fucking little loser followers that see this and they're trying to egg it on.
No, but my point being is that, like, if this were something like that, the noose would have been way more obvious.
Yeah.
Way more like
exactly.
Like it would have been gargantuan in size, to where it would have been strategically placed more obviously, like the thickness would have been greater. Like, so many things would have been different about it.
Yeah.
And
I think the big takeaway from this is, besides, I mean, I hate to laugh, but it is kind of funny because it's ignorant. The people now comparing Bubba Wallace to the I don't even know how to say his name, Jose Smollett or whatever, the African American guy that faked the racial attack. It's humorous because it's so ignorant. Because if you read any bit of information, you would know that Bubba Wallace had nothing to do with this. He wasn't there. He wasn't the one that found it. He had literally nothing to do with it. So it's funny, but because it's so stupid. And that whole scenario is actually really funny because he got caught. It's pretty embarrassing, but it's what it did. Like the walk, right? The walk showing the unified front of all the drivers pushing his car down pit row with all the crews behind them. Like, what a powerful statement to show how serious NASCAR is. And I strongly disagree that this was a setup. People are saying, because people are so stupid.
Yeah, I don't think it was a setup.
If it was a setup, they would have made it look more like a noose.
No, I think the reality of the fact of the matter is like the Black Lives Matter movement has brought so much awareness to this that whoever inside his garage or is on his team who looked at that, like, they may not have looked at that same way if
a month ago,
or 6 months ago or whatever it was, And where I'm going with that is like they were even like, oh, like, because Bubba didn't see it, like, oh, maybe we shouldn't tell him, like we don't want to affect him in the race, like maybe we'll tell him after the race, or I'm sure I'll find out after the race after we say something, but like it was part of that. But going back to what you said about the unity thing, man, it's like Bubba made a comment in his statement about like even though like this is come to find out that it wasn't this, he's like, I don't want this to take away from our moment of unity that we had. which I mean that was so strong even in its own right, and it's like even it kind of makes you think that like we've all been going through a lot anyway, that NASCAR would still probably have done something like this. And it's good that they did something like this anyway, because they need to show that NASCAR is interracial as well. Like bring it on, you know? Like,
and I want to
stop here with Bubba Wallace either, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And I want to also point out that so I have two last kind of comments on this. First off, to continue with the outcome, I think it was very huge of NASCAR and how they handled the outcome of the findings and everything, and not trying to dust it under the rug, because it is a little awkward and embarrassing when the outcome is nothing what it was originally thought to be. In the picture, when you look at it, I mean, any normal minded person looks at that and is kind of like, my reaction was, I see it, but I kind of really don't see it. Like it very much looks like someone, like you just said, saw it in a different vision than they would have in the past. And maybe it was someone new, or, you know, they jumped the gun a little bit. And with that saying, I also think that NASCAR is trying to get ahead of everything. They're taking this opportunity to change, to show they're changing, but they're doing it in a positive way. They're doing it in the right way. But I do think that they probably could have pumped the brakes a little bit, gone through the investigation, found some more intel before they mentioned any of this. Probably would have saved a lot of the back and forth drama, and the outcome. You know, it could have very much came out with a, hey world, just to inform you, you know, this was brought to our attention after investigation. We found out it wasn't this. However, we want to still show we're a united front. We're not, but instead it came out as, oh, news, hate crime. Oh, actually, it's just a fucking handle. So, and it doesn't look bad, but I do think that they probably, like I said, let's just gather all the intel. They kind of jumped the gun on announcing to the world what's going on.
So after all that, think about one more thing.
Yeah.
Look at this. So you saw the picture I sent you.
Yes.
Okay. If that is the rope that everyone's talking about, okay, and you're the one who sees that, okay, first of all, that rope is very close to a garage door.
Yeah.
And second of all, wouldn't you look at that rope and see where it's coming from?
Yeah.
And be like, yeah, it's coming from a garage door, guys. It's not a big deal.
Yeah. And,
like,
and here's the thing, is like
an element of common sense. And the other thing, the last thing is the picture that I showed you, that the garage door is open. Somebody would have had to pull that fucking thing to make that goddamn thing open.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the guy who's pulling it to open never once thought it was a noose, but just somebody in the back of the room's like, that thing's a noose. You know?
Yeah. And that's the thing, is it just ties into everything. Where like, everyone's different, man. Everyone sees things differently. Everyone thinks of things differently. And I think that
you know?
right now, you know, so many things, the world is so tense and